The night air clung to Raina Wolf as she sat in her dimly lit apartment, scrolling through her latest investigation notes. The glow from her laptop reflected her weary face. As an investigative journalist with a reputation for uncovering dark secrets, she'd been through her fair share of terrifying cases. But none of them prepared her for the email she had just received. "We were never meant to be apart." Attached was an image of two identical children standing before a dilapidated brick building. One of the children looked unmistakably like Raina as a child. The other was her exact mirror. Confusion turned to unease as she stared at the image. She had no twin. He was certain of it. Raina dismissed it as an elaborate prank until a second email arrived. This time it was a list of names, each one corresponding to victims of recent grisly murders. Next to each name was a zodiac sign. She dug through her notes, confirming what the email suggested. The murders occurred in the order of the zodiac from Aries to Pisces. A sick feeling settled in her stomach. The third email erased any doubts about the personal nature of this twisted game. It contained details from Raina's childhood, things no one else could possibly know. Memories she had buried, forgotten. Raina was no stranger to danger, but this was something different. It wasn't just a murder investigation. It was a message, a challenge, and it was targeted at her. Her search for answers consumed her. She scoured the crime scenes, poring over police reports and witness statements. She even approached Detective Evelyn Kane, a hard-nosed investigator who had no patience for the media. Kane wasn't thrilled about Raina's meddling, but the journalist's insights were undeniable. Together they pieced together a horrifying picture. The victims weren't random. Each one had ties to organizations mired in corruption. Corporate executives, politicians, even a charity CEO who had been embezzling funds.
They're playing judge, jury, and executioner.
And they're doing it in the name of balance. Look at the patterns. Duality, order, they're obsessed with the zodiac like it's some kind of cosmic law.
Raina's voice faltered as she remembered the emails, especially the way they called her twin. She hadn't shared that detail with Kane yet. How could she when she didn't fully understand it herself? The breakthrough came in the form of a video sent to Raina's phone. It showed a terrified woman bound to a chair, her eyes wide with fear. A distorted voice whispered,
"Save her if you can, twin."
The word pierced through Raina like a knife. She studied the background, spotting a flickering neon sign, the Zodiac Lounge. Raina raced to the bar, her heart pounding. She found the woman in a back room, barely conscious but alive. As she freed her, a figure emerged from the shadows, striking Raina across the head. When she woke up, she was bound to a chair in an unfamiliar room. Across from her sat a figure cloaked in darkness.
"Do you see it now?"
The figure asked, stepping into the light. Raina's breath caught in her throat. She was staring at herself. The same face, the same eyes, the same everything.
"I'm you. Or the part of you they tried to erase."
The figure spoke of a past Raina couldn't remember, of experiments conducted on twins where bonds were severed in the name of science. Raina's twin had been left behind, abandoned to the darkness. Over the years, that darkness had consumed them, warping them into the killer who now stood before her.
"Balance must be restored. You've lived a life of light, Raina. But light can't exist without shadow. And I'm here to make things right."
Raina refused to believe it. She demanded answers, shouting over the figure's cryptic explanations. But their words struck a chord deep within her. Memories she didn't know she had began to surface. Flashes of another child, a hand slipping from hers, a voice crying out. The figure disappeared into the night, leaving Raina shaken and desperate for answers. The trail led Raina and Kane to a series of abandoned buildings on the outskirts of the city, including an old asylum. The deeper they dug, the more they uncovered about a secret experiment designed to test the psychological limits of twins. Many subjects had died. Some had been separated. Reina's nightmares grew worse. She dreamed of running through dark hallways, always pursued by a shadow that mirrored her every move. She began to question her own sanity. Was the killer really her twin? Or was this some fractured part of herself, emerging after years of repression? The emails grew more urgent. The killer had chosen their next target, a CEO born under the sign of Leo. Reina and Cain raced to the location, arriving just in time to stop the murder. But in the chaos, the figure escaped, leaving behind a single message: the final balance is near. It all came to a head at the asylum where the experiments had taken place. The building was a crumbling ruin filled with the ghosts of the past. The asylum's oppressive silence seemed alive, pressing down on Reina as she moved deeper into its decaying halls. Every step echoed, amplifying her dread. The flashlight in her hand flickered, its beam barely piercing the shadows. She had followed the killer's breadcrumbs to this final confrontation, but she wasn't ready for what awaited her. Ahead, she saw the figure standing in the middle of a room illuminated by a single flickering bulb. They stood with a calm that sent shivers down Reina's spine. It was her, an exact reflection but somehow more menacing. The figure tilted their head the same way she did when studying a problem and smiled.
You came. I knew you'd have to. We've always been drawn to this place.
Reina tightened her grip on the flashlight, her voice wavering.
Why here? What's the point of all this?
This is where it all began. The experiments. The separation. They tried to erase me, but I survived. And now, it's time to restore the balance they destroyed. Only one of us can remain.
Reina's heart pounded as she took a step closer.
This isn't balance. This is madness. You've killed innocent people.
The shadow's laugh echoed off the crumbling walls.
Innocent? Is that what you tell yourself about the corrupt, the greedy, the liars? I've been cleaning up the mess you've spent your career exposing. I've done what you've always wanted to do, but were too afraid to admit.
Reina's mind raced, piecing together the memories she had suppressed for years. The emails, the cryptic messages, the murders, all of it led to this moment. This wasn't just about solving a case. It was about facing the darkest parts of herself. The shadow gestured toward the center of the room, where a cracked mirror leaned against the wall.
Look at it. See yourself. See us.
Reluctantly, Reina turned to the mirror. Her reflection was fractured, distorted by the cracks, but it didn't stop there. The shadow's face appeared behind hers, merging and shifting as if trying to overtake her.
This is who you are. You can't deny it anymore. Every time you've felt anger, fear, or the desire to hurt, that was me. I've been with you all along.
Reina's hands trembled, but she forced herself to face the truth. The killer wasn't just a twin she never knew about. It was the embodiment of everything she had suppressed. Her rage, her trauma, her guilt.
No! No! You're not me! You're a part of me, but you don't define me!
The shadow's smile faltered, their eyes narrowing.
Don't fool yourself, Reina. You're weak without me. I'm the one who's been strong enough to do what needed to be done.
The shadow lunged, their movements swift and almost inhuman. Reina barely dodged, stumbling backward as the figure's hand slammed into the wall where her head had been. The fight was chaotic. Reina battling not just the shadow but her own inner demons. Every blow felt like fighting her own reflection.
Stop running!
The shadow screamed, grabbing her by the collar and slamming her against the wall.
You're nothing without me. Do you think exposing the truth in your articles changes anything? I make real change. I cleanse the filth.
Raina gasped for air, her vision swimming. But as the shadow leaned closer, she found her strength.
You are wrong. You are not change. You are destruction.
With a surge of adrenaline, she shoved the shadow off, sending them crashing into the mirror. The glass shattered, scattering shards across the floor. The shadow lay motionless for a moment before slowly rising, their face bloodied but calm.
Do you feel better? Do you think breaking a mirror will break me?
Raina took a deep breath, realizing violence wasn't the answer.
No! I won't fight you anymore.
The shadow froze, their expression shifting from anger to confusion.
What are you doing?
I'm done running from you. You're right. I've been afraid. Afraid of my past, of my pain, of the things I've buried. But I'm not afraid anymore.
She stepped closer, her hands trembling but outstretched.
You're a part of me. I see that now. But you don't have to control me. We don't have to destroy each other.
The shadow's form flickered, their edges blurring like smoke.
You think this will stop me? You think you can just accept me?
Yes. Because I have to. You're not my enemy. You're my shadow. And I won't let you define me.
For a moment, the shadow seemed to solidify, their face contorted with rage. But as Raina stood her ground, their form began to dissolve. The darkness melted away, retreating into Raina herself. The oppressive weight in the air lifted, leaving her standing alone in the shattered room. The following days were a blur. The murders stopped, the emails ceased, and the world moved on. But Raina was far from the same. She returned to her apartment, sitting in silence as she processed everything she had faced. She stared at herself in the mirror, half expecting the shadow to reappear. But all she saw was her own reflection, worn, scarred, but whole. Detective Kane visited her, bringing a final report on the case.
The asylum's records are a mess. We may never know the full truth about those experiments, but we do know one thing: the killer's gone.
Raina nodded, her voice soft.
They were never really here, not in the way we thought. It was always about the shadows we carry.
As Kane left, Raina turned back to her desk. The story she had lived through was one she would carry with her forever. But instead of fearing the darkness within her, she had learned to embrace it. Above her, the stars twinkled in their constellations, eternal and unchanging. The Zodiac had been her guide through this journey, its symbols a reminder of the balance she had fought to restore, not just in the world but within herself. And for the first time, Raina felt truly free.
Please leave me a comment below and tell me what you think. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.